Assalamu alaikum students. Today we'll discuss future perfect continuous or future perfect progressive tense. So let's see how this tense is structured and where can it be used. Okay, in order to understand future perfect continuous tense, first of all we need to see the difference between future perfect and future perfect continuous tense. Future perfect tense talks about any action that would complete at certain point in future. On the other hand, future perfect continuous tense anticipate about something that will happen in future and most probably it will continue. For example, in future perfect, you can say, I will have achieved my goal by the end of this year. It means that at this particular time, by the end of this year, I will have achieved my goal. So this is completion of an action at a certain points. On the other hand, here you can see in future perfect continuous tense, by the end of 2020, she will have been blogging for 2 years. It means that at this point, she will have completed her 2 years of blogging by the end of 2020, and most probably she is going to continue this process, this activity of blogging for coming future. I hope the difference is clear. Let's move. Okay, now we'll see the structure of future perfect continuous tense, where first of all we need to have subject plus to be, will have been, plus first form plus ing, the present participle. Some of the examples are written here to share with you. They will have been running this NGO for 10 years. So you can see this is simple positive sentence. This is they is subject, will have been helping word, running present participle, first form of the verb, this NGO for 10 years, right? If we convert the same sentence into negative, we just add not with will. They will not have been running this NGO for 10 years. And in order to make interrogative, we'll add will in the start. Will they have been running this NGO for 10 years? And I'll explain the structure of this tense later on in more detail. Okay, let's see some of the more usages of this tense. This tense talks about anticipation of something that will happen in future and it will continue. For example, if someone asks me, since when have you been teaching? And I answer, by the end of this academic year, I will have been teaching for 10 years. Now what does it mean? That for 10 years I am teaching. Now 10 years are complete, and of course I am supposed to teach in future as well. Let's explain this concept through this time diagram. And here you can see, now this is the present time and this one is past, and here it is future. So for example, if I say that by the end of this academic year I will have been teaching for 10 years, it means that I started teaching maybe in 2010, and at the end of this academic year 2020, I will have been teaching for 10 years. So I have completed the 10 years, and this process of teaching is supposed to be continued in future as well, right? So this is how we talk about the completed action at the end of certain time period and how it's supposed to be continued in future as well. Let's move. Okay, second usage of future perfect continuous tense is that it is used with two time expressions. One specifying a time in the future and one stating the length of the activity. For example, by 2021, you will have been learning English for 2 years. So here you can see that 2021, it specifies a time in the future, and for 2 years tells us the length of the activity. Let's understand this concept through the time diagram, that by 2021 you will have been learning English for 2 years. It means that this process of learning, it took place, it started in 2019, and until 2021 this process of learning English will have taken 2 years, right? And it is supposed to be continued in future as well. Third use, activity that will be in progress before another action. For example, Ali will have been reading books for an hour by the time his mother arrives. So here you can see through this time diagram that maybe Ali started reading at 8 p.m. and his mother arrives at 9 p.m. So when his mother arrives, he will have been reading for 1 hour. This activity of reading, it took place, it continued for 1 hour until another action took place, right? So this is how we talk about any action that is in progress before another action. Okay, let's move towards the next usage. To indicate that the continuous action that finishes in the future will be the cause of something in the future. For example, I bet he will be hungry because he will have been studying straight through lunch. So now this structure which is written in future perfect continuous tense, he will have been studying. Now this is the cause of another action, and that is I bet he will be hungry. So that is the effect of the action that has been explained in present perfect continuous tense. Most frequently used expressions in future perfect continuous tense are by the time, by. For example, by 6 o'clock, comma, Ali will have been baking a cake for an hour, right? So these are the most common expressions with future perfect continuous tense. Okay, now we'll see where we can't use the future perfect continuous tense. We need to be clear that we cannot use any form of the continuous tense with stative verbs. There are two types of verb, action verbs and stative verbs. Action verbs show the practical action. On the other hand, stative verbs show the mental actions like thoughts and opinions. For example, agree, believe, doubt, guess, imagine, or feelings and emotions like dislike, hate, love, senses and perceptions. For example, appear, feel, hear, look, and possessions and measurement. For example, belong, have, measure. So with all these stative verbs, we don't use future perfect continuous tense. Rather, no form of continuous tense is used with stative verb. Okay, now we'll see some of the examples where we are using stative verbs with future perfect continuous tense, and we'll see how these sentences are considered wrong. For example, on Thursday, I will have been knowing you for a week. Do you think it's correct? No, it's incorrect. It's wrong. What you should say, on Thursday, I will have known you for a week. Right? You cannot use stative verbs know in future perfect continuous tense. Another example is, our client will have been appreciating all the work by the end of next month. Again, appreciate is stative verbs. So what you can say, our client will have appreciated all the work by the end of next month. I hope it's clear. Let's move. Okay, now we'll see the structure of future perfect continuous tense in more detail, where first of all we need to have subject, then will have been plus present participle or base form of the verb plus ing. So how will we make the simple sentences? You can see here, I will have been working. You can see I is subject, will have been helping verb, and working is main verb. You will have been working, they will have been working, it will have been working. I hope it's simple. Okay, now we'll move towards the negative sentences. So what we do in negative sentences, we just add not with will, right? So how will we structure the sentence? First of all, I, then will, after that not, have been, and then main verb. For example, you will not have been working, we will not have been working, Okay, or if you want to write the contractions, you can write won't instead of will not, right? You can write he won't have been working, she won't have been working. So in order to make the interrogative sentences, you add will in the start and then subject, and after that have been and then present participle. So how will you write it? Will I have been working? Will they have been working? Will you have been working? And you need to be clear that here H should be small. H with have is just a typo, and you need to be clear about it. Okay, and sometimes we make question statements with such words like where, when, how long. So in that sense, what you do, you just add this question word in the start. For example, you can say where will you have been working, right? When will she have been working? I hope it's simple. Okay, let's move. Okay, now we'll see how to make the contractions in future perfect continuous tense. For that, you need to be clear that contractions are not used in professional and academic writing. If you are writing something in the business world, in your job work, or you are writing your assignments, your project, any academic activity, it means that at that time you are not going to write the contractions. Contractions are written only in informal conversation, right? So let's see how to make the contractions. For example, if it is I will have been, what you can do, you will contract will and instead you add apostrophe double L, right? We remove W and I and we'll say I'll have been working, you will have been working into you'll have been working, we will have been working into will have been, right? And so on and so forth. Now we'll see how to make the contractions in the negative sentences. In negative sentences, what we are doing, we are contracting will not and we are changing into won't. I won't have been, you won't have been, they won't have been, right? I hope it's simple. You understood it. Let's move. Okay. Now we'll see how to make the present participle. So what happens, most of the time we only add ing with base form of the verb like eat into eating. You can see here that we are adding only ing. Walk into walking. And sometimes there are certain verbs which ends with e. In that case, we drop E and instead we add only ing. So what we can say, use into using. You can see here that we have dropped E. Take into taking. And some of the verbs which end in IE, there we drop IE and instead we add ing. For example, here you can see lie into lying. You can see we dropped IE and instead we added Y only. Lying, tie into tying. And sometimes some of the verbs they end in consonant verb consonant sound. So in that case what we do, we just double the last letter. Here you can see clap, it is ending with consonant vowel and consonant sound. And what we are doing here, we have written P, the last letter, twice, and after that we added ing. So clap into clapping, sit into sitting, right? Let's move. Okay, so how to write future perfect continuous tense, we'll see some of the examples. Like here you should also do some exercise and you should check whether you have learned how to write future perfect continuous tense. Like I blank work all weekend, so I won't be energetic on Sunday night. So how should we write it? I will have been working all weekend, right? Next, how long blank you wait when you finally get your results. So this is the question statement, and for question statement what we need to do, we'll say how long will you have been waiting when you finally get your exam results, right? The next statement is also question statement, so we need to be careful how we got to know that this is question statement. It is only through this question mark, right? So how will we make it? Will he have been playing computer games for 10 hours when he finally stops, right? Next, they blank study all day, so they will want to go out in the evening. So what would we say here? They will have been studying all day, so they'll want to go out in the evening. I hope it's clear. Let's move. Okay, one last practice session. You will have been waiting for more than 2 hours when her plane finally arrives. This is simple sentence, and I'm sure now you know how to write a simple sentence, a positive sentence in future perfect continuous tense. Next, you will not have been waiting for more than 2 hours when her plane finally arrives. So here you can see that we added not in the negative sentence, and the last sentence is interrogative statements. Will you have been waiting for more than 2 hours when her plane finally arrives, right? So this was all about future perfect continuous tense. Thank you so much for listening. If there is any query, please comment below. See you in the next lecture with some other good topic. Until then, bye.